Thank you guys so much for joining our session today. Today we're going to have just kind of a brief high-level demonstration of the Assima train product and why it is different and unique for creating training materials on software applications. So just a little bit about Assima. We have been around since 2002, so we are not new to this space. We are trusted, as you see, by 15 of the 20 largest banks in the US and Europe. We operate in 19 countries, and we are ISO certified, and our client base consists of almost half of the Fortune 500. So that is who we are as Assima. And what we're going to do is show you kind of, again, a high-level demonstration of the Assima train product, and we're going to look at what it looks like to create content, and then what it looks like to the learner when you actually publish out the content you create with our tool. So I'm going to switch over here to the authoring view. So what you're seeing on the screen is an example of our authoring suite. It is a cloud-based solution, so it is naturally collaborative. And the way that it works is very similar to any other authoring tool. In the beginning, you basically create a lesson, you click the capture button, and then you bring up your software, whatever that is. And then you simply walk through how to do something, walk through a process or workflow, if you will. And then our capture tool will capture the screens and steps of that process. So that part's going to be very familiar to anyone who's used any authoring tool to create simulation type training. How we are very different and unique is in the way that we do a capture. So I'm going to click on our sample lesson here. And today's sample, we are showing Salesforce, but we are actually able to capture pretty much any enterprise application. So we span from green screen terminal applications, custom in-house developed desktop applications, all the way to modern web-based applications. So we are able to do our object-based capture on any type of customized enterprise application. And again, today's example just happens to be Salesforce. So when you go and do that capture of a workflow in your application, what you're going to be presented is what you're looking at here. So here is our graph view of the captured process. So you can see all of the screens and steps of that process. Again, that's pretty familiar to anyone who's used an authoring product. But if we go into a specific screen, we're going to show you how very different and unique. So if we take a look at a screen like this, instead of this being a picture like it would be with any other tool, we're actually going one level beyond that picture. So we're doing actually an object-based capture, and that's what our marketing term for that is called cloning. So if you hear that word cloning, that's what we really mean, is an object-based capture. So if we take that screen, for example, and I start clicking on different objects from labels that are on the screen, you can see as I click on that, if you look on the right-hand side, you can see the properties of that object. So it knows that this is the opportunity owner label. It knows this is the opportunity name field, and you can see all of the different properties of this object. Now, one of the advantages of doing this object-based capture is we really free that author up from having to capture against cosmetically perfect screens, because everything is an editable object. And we'll show you a few examples of that. So if we take like this opportunity name field here, so I could delete this object, move it, resize, move it, add new fields, copy it, and paste it somewhere else. You almost have like developer type rights to your captured process. So what that means is you can capture content on a system that's still under development. So if you have a new software rollout where we really shine, you don't have to wait until that system is 99 to 100% done to even start creating your training content. You can actually start creating that training content while it's still being changed and altered, because you have the ability, just like those developers, to change anything post-capture. Some of the other features is when we capture a screen, because this is not a screenshot, we capture the entire screen. So even what's not visible, or what if you have to scroll down or have scrolling tables, all of that is part of our single screen capture. We also capture all of the data in your combo or drop down boxes, depending on what you call these. And like anything else, all of that data that's in these combo boxes, that's also editable. I could change anything or add new values. I can go and change anything about this. And we capture all of that data without opening these. So when you capture this screen, that whole screen, along with all of the data in all of your combo boxes, all of the fields, they're all part of that same single screen capture. And if we take a look at this compared to taking screenshots or pictures, if we look at a screen like this, typically you would come to this screen, and this screen would be your first picture. And then clicking in that first field and filling it out would be a second picture. Clicking it into the next field would be a third picture. So every little thing that you do is a separate picture. And if you fill out a screen like this that has lots of different fields and options, this could be 20, 30 different screens on this one screen. For us, this is one screen. So that learner, when we publish this out, will be able to do the same thing. They'll be able to scroll up and down and interact with any of the fields on the screen. And that gets into a little bit of how we're very unique for the learner. Some of the other advantages, along with being able to kind of keep up with what production is, you can also get ahead of production. So we kind of use the example of, hey, I'm going to capture against a system that's still under development, and then mock up those changes afterward, and move or copy or put new objects where I need them. You can also do this before that look even exists. So if you know what the screen is going to look like, and this is where you as an L&D team can actually make a closer association with the business or IT or dev, who's ever maintaining that production application that you're having to create training for. If you can get them involved, then you can mock up functionality that doesn't yet exist. So not only can you keep up with what the live production system is, you can actually get ahead. So we've had many clients that have captured a system still under development, and not only were able to start capturing, but actually finish production of all of their training materials before that system got to 100%. So again, a very unique capability that enables you to keep up and maintain all of this content. And going forth, when you have further upgrades to this application, again, you don't have to wait until there are actually changes in production. You can mock up that. And that means when you come to us, when you capture your screens, you don't have to throw that lesson away and recapture a whole new lesson just because a new version is coming out. You can mock up those changes here much quicker and easier than recreating the wheel again. And so the maintenance of content becomes much more engaging for that learner. If we go to the graph view, and we'll go back to kind of that graph view of screens we were just looking at, you can see that the amount of screens that you're going to capture as an author are going to be greatly reduced. So instead of 60, 80, 100 screen lessons, they're going to be 10, 15, 20 screen lessons. We also provide the ability to create branching, optional paths, multiple paths, so you can create the lesson scenarios that you wish you had the time to create, again, because of that realism. And I'm going to go back into the screen one more time and show you two more very powerful capabilities for you as an author. And one is around managing any captured data that you may have captured as part of your training. So we allow you to change that data, just like you have the ability to manipulate anything else in the screen. You actually have the ability to change any captured data. And not only can I do it one at a time on a screen, we take all of the data on all of the screens and put that into kind of a database. We call it a dictionary. And then we allow you to build replacement data sets from that data dictionary and you can do a global mass replace of all of the captured data with risk-free training data. So you can see my name was replaced by John Doe. That means all of your published content would only contain your risk-free training data. And you can have as many different data sets as you want. And again, it's globally mass replacing all of that data on all of your lessons. Using that same technology, we can also localize your capture into any other language. And it does the same way. It's a global find and replace. You capture once in English, and you can publish this out into any other language. You don't have to recapture in a different language. And we support every language Windows supports. So those are some of the huge advantages for you as an author. So I'm going to go over and we're going to show you some examples of some of the outputs and some advantages, and which is why you're creating this content in the first place, and some of the unique differences with our tools. So I'm going to launch the content. So I'm launching published content as a learner would see. So I've launched the self-paced training. And you can see here we have all of our instructions built in. Now, the difference for the learner, instead of this being a static screenshot that they're only able to click into one area, this is going to look and feel just like a live system. That means there's tooltips on everything. If you notice the dates, so I can interact with screens. If I scroll up here, you can see that this is today's date and time, even though I created this lesson over 3 years ago. And then if I perform the right step, I'm going to move on to a new screen and a new list of steps. And again, the interactivity looks and feels just like a real system. Now, if that learner does something wrong, like clicking a different button instead of the new button, there's remediation built in, so you can customize all of that as well. And then when they get to a screen like this, we really showcase how unique our simulation is. Again, that learner will be able to poke around and do exploratory learning. They'll be able to enter data in any order they wish, and they'll be able to click in any of these fields without getting error messages. For all, this is going to look and feel exactly like the live application. So the quality of training that you give that learner is going to be greatly expanded. The learner retention is going to be greatly expanded, so that when they actually take training, it's going to look and feel exactly like that real environment. Along with that guided practice type output, we create all of your familiar outputs that most other tools do. So we have a movie type output we call demonstration. We have an evaluation like a test. We also create documentation, and this documentation can range from, your typical PDF or Word user manuals all the way to something like this modern interactive job aid. So this shows me the whole process flow, and then the learner can actually interact and get more detail only where they need it, and even see what the alternative paths are. And this gets created just like all the other outputs. And then in addition to that, we also create a unique output that only our tool creates, and it's called Sandbox. And the way most of our clients use this output is they use this where they would typically use a live system. So typically think classroom training, virtual instructor-led training. Again, you can provide, the ability to go down different branches, different paths, but it's not a full system. So, which means we're going to keep them from going somewhere way off task, right? We're going to focus those learners where they should learn, and they can launch this instead of logging into a live environment. And the great thing about this is every single student launches the exact same scenario, and they all use the exact same scenario data. Every student's doing the exact same thing in what looks and feels like a real live environment. So instructors love that because it's consistent and it's scalable. So the instructor knows exactly where that student can and can't go in the application. And then every student knows exactly what they're supposed to be doing. Students can help other students because everybody's inputting the same data. So very powerful tool. So with this, most of our clients completely eliminate the need to have a live training environment altogether. You don't need that live training environment for all of your upfront captures because you don't need a pre-sanitized system, nor do you need that live training environment for practice, for classroom training, because you can use our advanced simulations instead of that. And the last thing I want to touch on is our advanced analytics. So along with giving your learning management system all of its normal SCORM reporting data, like their score, did they pass or fail, we can also track very detailed statistics about exactly what the learners are doing in these simulations. And this can range from kind of more broad reports all the way to looking in great detail to see exactly what a specific student did in a specific lesson. So you can see here, I took this lesson earlier today. We can see exactly all the mistakes I made. We can see exactly what I typed. I typed sales data in that field, and then that was bad data, and I kept trying to submit that data over and over and over and spent 34 seconds in this screen. So this is the level of detail that we track automatically, in addition to giving the learning management system all of its normal SCORM data. So it's very, very valuable data so that you can actually have real metrics to see how good your training is, where you need to improve, and where you can actually make a difference and measure that difference. So that is what we wanted to show you today. Again, there is a poll in the session here. If you would like some more information, please go take, it's a 1-question poll asking if you'd like additional information or to contact us with additional questions. Please take that and we will be glad to set up a demo for you or just simply answer any questions.